All right, hey there, Sam back with you here. We're midday on Tuesday, May 15th, and the final coin for the day here that we're looking at, this is Litecoin to the dollar. Now, I've got a 3-hour here up on Bitfinex, and we'll dig in here to the right here, but I just want to give you the broader picture. We're working on the assumption that there's some sort of an AB, and this 5 down finishes a C. This likely complexity here is for some sort of a WXY. But what's relevant to us is this last 5 coming down gives us a completion point for a C wave that gives us a launch point here for this. We've got, you call this a double bottom here, triple bottom, quadruple bottom. This prior support here seemed to be offering some prior resistance here offering some support as we've now checked it multiple times. So as we look over here to the hard right edge of the market, trying to get a sense of where we may be as we move off of this low here. So here being that pivot here, so we get a 1-2. This is fairly clear, right? We can get a pretty solid 1-2 in for our 2 here, up for the 3. The triangle in the 4th, up we go for the 5. So that seems pretty solid. Now, question becomes, well, where are we in the count? Well, if we're operating on the assumption that that's a good pivot, this would be some sort of a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are yet to come. We'll go up a larger degree on those. We could go to green, and let's go up to intermediate just to make it easy to spot. Okay, so there's from that pivot low, we get a motive wave. We get we get a clean impulsive 1. So there's our 1 wave going in. Now, what do we expect? After that, we're looking for 3 waves down for a B. So it's just kind of a skinny B here, but we have all of the ingredients there for it. So if we take our absolute low here of that 1 wave and go up to our high, well, we've broken through the golden zone here. Now we know a 2 can go as deep as the 786, so we're not out of bounds here. We're a bit of a choppy mess as we look at where we are now. And of course, Litecoin is a bit of a proxy to Bitcoin. It's very similar. We're trying to get a sense of what's going on here as we deal with this chop and lack of clarity. So let's go from here. If we're allowing for this to be our second, we can take this off. We know we've got targets up above. So let's go down to the hourly and look at this action here and see if we can make sense of it. So I've got to zoom in here a little more so I can show it to you. All right, so it's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, right, in terms of motive waves coming off of that low, but there you could make the case that you've got a little 1-2 going in, 3, 4. Now, this could play as a 5. It's actually an impulse because we don't overlap the 1 if I have this labeled correctly, and we have this very shallow 1-2 going in here, right? It's certainly a contender. Well, we come down for the 4, and we effectively double bottom down here. So looking at that, right, if I just take that swing low to my swing high here, well, it's kind of interesting. So 618, front run on the 618 up to algo target. That's likely the front run on the target, and then we see the reaction. So looking beyond that, if that's completed as a 5-wave structure, so I've got my motive wave coming off of this low down here, I've got kind of an ugly 1 wave, but then given the depth of this retracement here and the fact that we go all the way to the 786 would certainly imply that that's a 2. If that pivot's going to hold, that can play as a 1-2. We went right from the 786 to the algo target, so for whatever reason, they stayed long there. Now we can see the reaction as they get their target. So now where are we? Well, you'd have because of the depth of this retracement, that has to be a 2, so you'd have to call it 1-2. 1-2. So to the next degree, we'd have to go, let's do it this way. So from this low, this would have to be 1, this would have to be 2, going up for 3, 4, and 5. Now let's get that somewhat appropriate degree. I guess we can go up 1 there. We'll go to minuet. Okay, so that could play as a 1-2. Now again, deep on the 2s. All the 2s, these are deep retracements. So looking at that, from that 2 low, am I up here? Does that work? Okay, well, we've come up, we've challenged the 786. That's held so far. I've got a nice 3-wave subdivision. It's a bit ugly, and market is fighting to establish trend here. So really, you could draw it this way. You could just say there's just this kind of a sideways chop going on here as we look at this. Now it's going to take us getting out of this range. We got to at least get up here and go after that algo target. If we're going to get a 3, 4, and a 5, then of course that 3 would be much higher. But right now, and again, I'm allowing for these wicks to go through rather than draw this all the way down here. Or I guess you could consider that as a possibility as well, just connecting low to low. I'm more inclined to consider this a significant pivot here, so I'm just drawing from this to this, looking for where we might go next. Well, I don't want to see it take out that low. That's for sure, because then we have to reconsider the count. So right now, you have a little bit of a problem spot here in that if that's going to play as my 2, and this C is hard to get clean subdivision in that. It's if you dig for it, it's there. You can get 5 in that C. But it's not gorgeous. It's not easy to spot, so you really have to kind of work to carve it out of that. So you have the potential here. You have a couple of different scenarios, right? So first we have to recognize that if this is complete. Now let's work from the top one. If this is complete, if we've got from my swing low to my swing high here, well, we know we're going to run into some resistance at the 50 and the 618. So the fact that the algo target, assuming this holds, is sitting right here at the 50, it's worth noting. We're going to need to get through that because that won't be long enough to qualify it as a 3. Again, remember 3 doesn't have to be the longest, just can't be the shortest. So we could, there's a couple of different ways that this can play out. I guess this has to go up to a larger degree here, so let's do that real quick. So this could be minuet. No, we'd have to go. Let's go to minor. Okay, so we could have 1, 2, 1, 2, looking for 3, 4, and 5 to complete the third relative to that larger degree here of this 1, 2, the first 2 that went in. Can we hold here? Now we don't know, right? It's just gotta. Would I be buying it there? No, I don't love it enough, right? There's just too much uncertainty as to what's going here. It's not a good enough count for me to really want to chase that. There's just other places where I think what we can see is more clearly identified. Here, this is much like Bitcoin. There's a couple of different ways this could play out. I don't have any certainty. If I can get a little more distance from this and start to create some shape in my third, some impulsive structure, what I need here, if that's going to play as a third, I've got to get an impulse wave coming out of this pivot down here. So I'd like to see that hold in a little distance. So what we're trying to get here, if this is going to be my third, well, there's my negative 100, which we know will be very close to the 1618. That window that we know is a high probability for a third, but right now it's just soft, and it looks like we're going to challenge that low yet again. So for me, I just don't love it enough to be chasing along there. I just see there's too many possibilities here. There is the, well, you could have an ABC here, X, and then some sort of a more complexity in this correction going in, but we don't want too much complexity here. We don't want to see a triangle in our second. So we're looking for this to stay here as a completed 5 wave into this pivot low here as a 2. If that doesn't break, then we have to recount the whole thing and maybe reconsider where we are here and what the subdivision looks like. Right now, it continues to look like it's fighting to establish the new bull trend, but it's struggling. So what do we do with it? Well, I'm inclined to just say, why force something here? Is there a trade there? Sure, there's a trade there, but it's just not good enough for me personally, right? So I would want to see a little bit more movement. I want to see this come out of this low with a little bit of force. Can we get out of this and at least go up and get after that algo target here and looking for a bump into that 50? Really, this is what we're looking for, but I got to get a little more shape coming out of this than just this kind of free fall here. And it's of course following Bitcoin. So you can again, as I mentioned, you can trade this almost as a proxy to Bitcoin. So we'll wait and see. For me, this is a watch closely. I want to see this support hold. If it starts to get some traction, then I'd be inclined to play the first pullback. So if we can get out of this and I get the start of what may be confirming that pivot, if I can get a little pullback, well, then at least I've got a series of higher lows. And I've got the ingredients there potentially to give me a higher high. Right? If we break this, then we're off potentially now, starting our third wave here, right, with these targets all moved over. But I don't, so much uncertainty. Why force something here? I'd like to see the market reveal itself a little bit more. I'd like to see some movement come off of that. Then I'd consider taking that first retracement here as we come back potentially now to this support line, giving us potentially a push now to give us that higher high. So we'd have a higher high here and a higher high here. Then we have more of the beginnings of what we want to see for a new trend to get established here. This is still, so you look at this. So why do we pivot here? Well, here from this swing here, this seems to be influencing the market. We come up, so we get point of control right here. So here's our 618. We get the reaction off of that. We got this algo target sitting down here off of this. So that's why I'm a little, I'm cautious about being a buyer here. I just don't like the structure enough to really, force something in there. So do we get that? Would that work? Could we put the 2 back down here? Well, we'd have a hell of a mess in the 2. So until I get more clarity, my advice would be to just sit tight. Why force something? Let the market reveal itself. It will. If this is going to hold, there'll be plenty of opportunity. So put this in context of where we could be going. If that's a 2, if this is a 1-2 going in, there's plenty of upside here. Why force something? Let the market show its hand. Are we going to hold here and stay in this series, or this algo target down here screaming at us? What would that do for us if we think about where that could go? Well, if this target gets realized, what would that do in the context of that being a 2? So if I pull swing low to swing high, well, we're back down here. If that were to play, this is going to be an absolute mess to count. But so potentially now you have another confluence zone down here where you'd have the algo target and the 786, which could happen. Possible. I'd much prefer to see this start to hold here and start to move away with it rather than try and identify that mess. So we'll see. So bottom line, when in doubt, which I am in a little bit of doubt here, not a little bit, I'm in doubt. I don't know what the hell's going on in there. When in doubt, be out. Wait, there's no, why for? There's no hurry. Litecoin's not going anywhere. Let the market show itself. All right, I'll wrap there. That's it for today. Again, just a reminder, because we want to encourage people to visit over to the other site here on YouTube. Here, it's Trade Devils with an S. That's how you'll find it. So if you just go into the search bar, if you want to see all of this applied to traditional assets, again, it's the exact same approach. And we all love crypto because of the volatility, but there's certainly plenty of opportunity in traditional assets. So I encourage you to consider that, if for no other reason than some diversification. Just something to keep in mind. And if nothing else, it will solidify in your mind this methodology in all markets. The underlying market doesn't matter. Just there's a lot of attention, a lot of volatility in crypto. So as swing traders, we like that. But if that changes, you can take this skill set and apply it to traditional assets, without blinking. It's the exact same way the market moves, regardless of what we're looking at. So that's something you might take a look at. That's over at Trade Devils. Of course, you can always visit us online at tradedevils.com. Learn more about our private Discord for members and one-on-one coaching, other things that we can offer to you. So give us a visit if you're interested, and that'll do it for today. All right, guys.